Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. So you see, we're in that similar repeated situation where the left is trying desperately to craft a narrative, the left is saying one thing, and I feel as though it's my job to spend my days yelling across the vast fields of the internet, essentially the exact opposite. It's that typical game we play, narrative versus reality. The media's going on, drumming up all kinds of moral outrage. Ooh, aha. How could Donald Trump ever think about nominating Matt Gaetz for Attorney General? It's the worst pick ever. Remember, they said the same thing about J.D. Vance, by the way.
I mean, it's the worst vice presidential pick of my lifetime.
Meanwhile, J.D. Vance pretty much killed it throughout the entire campaign, then Kamala Harris lost in epic landslide fashion, leading to a historic conservative mandate in the modern era. But let's completely ignore that, of course. But now it's the exact same situation. Matt Gaetz is just so terrible. But I'm sitting here thinking, we're not living in the same universe. Matt Gaetz is a freaking stud. Sure, he's got this one allegation against him that seems like a total psyop, but Democrats want to keep harping back to that same topic. But my thought process here is pretty clear. In America, you are innocent until proven guilty, and Matt Gaetz has never been found guilty of any crime, and the allegation was dropped. So in my view, I'd say he's got the benefit of the doubt there. And now, outside of this personal matter that I don't even think should be part of the conversation, if we're looking at Matt Gaetz the politician, yeah, we must be talking about two entirely different people, because this guy is freaking based. And I got the perfect clip to show you exactly why Matt Gaetz is such a beloved character in the MAGA base. Let's add a little bit of balance to the conversation, shall we? And not allow the corrupt media to essentially drive the conversation in the direction that they wish. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks. So I've already played for you guys a couple clips. I played a little bit of a supercut the other day, Matt Gaetz moments in the hearings. Well, let's continue to build on that. Here's a very interesting segment that The Blaze released with Matt Gaetz that pretty much shows you exactly why Republicans love him so much and why establishment Republicans absolutely hate him.
Congressman Gaetz offered to take us on a tour.
So one of the committees where people have a lot of information is the Appropriations Committee, because they can view almost any vector of government funding. And so, this is Mr. Rutherford's office. He's on the Ethics Committee and the Appropriations Committee. 152 stock trades. Stocks go through the roof. And, actually bought Raytheon stock the day that Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if every American could make money off of war.
Yeah, setting aside the whole shame and ethics questions. How many more on our hit list here?
There are a few more. I wish there were fewer on the hit list. I wish we could only stop at one or two offices, but as it turns out, energy is a sector that sees a lot of congressional stock trading.
Sure.
And we have members who are on the Energy Subcommittee of Appropriations, like Michael Guest, chairman of the Ethics Committee, and he's traded somewhere between tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in energy stocks. He's been buying online gaming stocks and just making a killing on them. So you would think that the people that were on the Ethics Committee would be your best allies in this fight, but indeed they're some of the most prolific traders. And not only trading, but in the case of Mr. Guest, trading in an area where he has access to energy information more so than almost any other American.
And no indication that he wants to maybe slow down, pump the brakes, recognize that there might be some appearance of impropriety here?
It seems as though the pace is only accelerating.
All right.
Yeah, so you pretty much get exactly where I'm going with this. In that video, Matt Gaetz can be seen walking through the halls of Congress, going from one Republican office to another, calling out members in his own party for engaging in blatant insider trading. Who does that? Well, Matt Gaetz does that. The man simply doesn't mince his words. He doesn't play games at all. And this instance pretty much shows you exactly what I mean by that. There he is, going from office to office, highlighting how different Republican representatives conveniently bought the perfect stock right before global events. He points out John Rutherford, who conveniently bought Raytheon stock just as Russia invaded Ukraine. Interesting timing. A border dispute that became a global conflict, let's call it, that of course members in Congress knew was happening before it was announced to the public thanks to reports circulating in the intelligence sector, an event of global impact that would obviously very conveniently send defense stocks skyrocketing, and this guy buys Raytheon on the same day. That's something that should receive bipartisan condemnation. And it's the kind of stuff the politicians tend to run away from.
Yes, sir. I think we have to go now. One more, he said. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he's received from you?
What are you saying?
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he received from you?
No, absolutely not. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
But the American people would like answers on. Your typical Washington swamp creature despises this kind of thing. They don't want you to know about it. They love to pretend as if none of this ever happens. Don't look under the hood. But Matt Gaetz is, let's call it, the honest mechanic who pops the hood and says, look, that's the problem right there. You know, it isn't just a game of politics for Matt Gaetz. It's a matter of principle, or at least that's how it comes off. He's exposing how members of Congress are lining their own pockets instead of serving the American people who elected them. And this is probably why the establishment, and particularly the establishment within the Republican Party, despises him. It's not just because he's some extremist, which is what the media would want you to believe. They never delve into the details as to why Matt Gaetz is a bad pick. They just go, oh, he's so extreme. Oh, he's so crazy. Oh. But what does that even mean? That's not an argument. It's a bunch of arm flailing. Every media analyst at the CNN roundtable immediately turns into the wacky inflatable arm flailing tube man. Oh, Matt Gaetz. Oh, every time his name is mentioned. But the reality is he's not an extremist. The Republican Party doesn't despise him because he's an extremist, a radical. They just want you to believe that. The real reason why they hate him is because he's an anti-corruption patriot who dares shine light on their dirty secrets. That's the reality. And on top of it, Gaetz is also vocally anti-war, which in the past has been pretty rare among Republican war hawks who have long championed military intervention. You know, the Bush-Cheney-style Republicans, the neocons of old. You know, they hate him because he stands up against the endless war machine spending that they're constantly trying to sneak under these bills. Oh, he's such a crazy extremist. Why? Because he's anti-corruption, exposes the foul play in Washington, and doesn't like war? You people are nuts. And the irony, especially coming from the leftist media on these issues, you know, issues like ending endless wars and calling out corporate influence, well, these used to be principled liberal stances that the left used to fight for, at least the grassroots. But now when Gaetz is leading the charge, suddenly it's labeled radical or dangerous. Oh, he's working for Vladimir Putin. I could already hear the talking heads at the back of my brain squawking the typical talking points. Ooh, Vladimir Putin this, Vladimir Putin that. He's a Russian agent. How incredibly stupid. What the actual truth is, or what the perception seems like from the Republican base, is that he's fighting for policies that actually put American interests first, not the interest of defense contractors or wealthy lobbyists. And you know, I keep adding a little bit of a caveat, just because when you're talking about any political character, you can never give them 100% of the benefit of the doubt. No matter how much you like them, there's always this matter of perception versus reality. But when it comes to Matt Gaetz, the perception seems to correlate quite closely with reality. The simple truth, at least from my perspective, is that Matt Gaetz has set himself apart due to his willingness to stand up, and especially stand up to his own political party. People who only have their own interest at heart rarely do that, right? Put their own standing within their own party and their own career at risk by standing up to what they view as corruption, mismanagement, and a betrayal of the voter base within their own party, and in many cases, targeting their bosses, like Matt Gaetz targeted Kevin McCarthy when he felt as though he wasn't fulfilling the will of the Republican voter base. Gaetz calls out Republicans who he believes have sold out to the establishment, betraying the trust of the voters. That, at least for me, kind of goes a long way. And that's essentially why the Republican voter base loves him. But the establishment Republicans, many who probably won't win re-election, and honestly it feels as though they're playing to sabotage Donald Trump's agenda, well, those Republicans, they absolutely despise him. And of course, that's why it's such a controversy, and that's why Matt Gaetz' path forward here is not going to be an easy one. He's facing significant opposition from establishment Republicans who would rather maintain the status quo than embrace his brand of disruptive politics, let's say. So I guess we're at a critical juncture here in American politics. Is Matt Gaetz going to get approved by the Senate to fill that role of Attorney General? I guess we'll have to see. We got a couple standouts here, or I guess expected standouts. Lisa Murkowski already described the appointment as, quote, not serious. Susan Collins was reportedly shocked. Mike Pence doesn't believe he's going to make it through, neither does Kevin McCarthy. There's speculation that Mitt Romney is not going to support him either. But it's all speculation. A lot of these people can be forced to fall in line, especially considering Elon Musk's political pressure campaign promising to primary any Republican that stands in the way of Trump's agenda. Republicans have 53 seats in the Senate going into 2025, and really I guess you could say 54 considering JD Vance is that tie-breaking vote. So it's not going to be an easy path, but there is a path here. If negotiations behind the scenes prove fruitful and the party falls in line, of course we'll have to see what happens. But my thought process is he's the right guy for the job. He's proven himself to be quite the character. It's time to shake things up a bit. That seems to be the mandate from the voters. And so I just don't see why any Republican would stand in the way of the will of their own party, essentially telling the entire voter base, the entire Republican Party, the president, the entire cabinet, that they know better and they have the right to dictate who Trump puts in certain positions of power. At the end of the day, Congress's job is to represent the voters who put them there, but also that thought process or viewpoint might be a little naive at the same time. Let's just say this whole thing's in limbo, and I guess we'll just have to see what happens. But anyways, that's my 2 cents, an interesting clip, and of course countering all the hysteria currently going on around the name Matt Gaetz. That's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.